Hello, YouTube and Facebook. I'm addressing a post that I did on Facebook earlier today. And it was actually one of those locators or just to get some dialogue going about a conversation I had yesterday with someone. And the question was posed to me of where was God in all of the stuff that's happening? Where's God at in all of this? And to me, I won't say God's not in it because God still holds everything in place. But understanding where God is kind of important to some of the people who don't believe or who marginally believe. And I put that statement out there so we could start some dialogue with some of the people that were considered scholars or whatever, and just get some dialogue going so to help people understand. It was actually a educational moment, but I only got one response, and I want to thank my buddy Jerry Mikesell, because he had the balls to come out and make a statement. Out of all the people I know, Jerry was the only one that made a statement, and I commend him for that. Because it does take some courage to try to explain God. It does. It takes some courage, but it also takes knowledge too. And I commend him for all his studies and for having the courage to come out and make a statement. But again, I told him at the end of the day, he and I had some dialogue about the statement, and I told him at the end of the day I would wait and see who all responded and basically have some dialogue on it. So since nobody responded, I'm actually doing a response to where God is in all of this. And the whole idea of this talk is to establish accountability and responsibility. Because what was posed to me was a question that was asking about God's responsibility and his accountability in this whole situation. So I felt that I needed to address that. And in order to address it, I'm going to have to go to some scripture too, because we're talking about God. So we don't know God unless we relate to scripture. In Genesis 1:27 and through 31, I'm going to go through that kind of quickly and kind of break it down. And I'll try to make this as short as possible, as painless as possible, but please listen to every word of it because every word of it is important. Genesis 1:27 through 31, it says, "So God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. God blessed them and said to them, 'Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea and the birds in the sky, and over every living creature that moves on the ground.' Then God said, 'I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. They will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds in the sky, and all the creatures that move along the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food.' And it was so. God saw all that he made, and it was very good." Okay, and I'm going to stop right there. Because there's a couple points I want to make out of this. Okay, first of all, we want to dispel the rumor or the myth. Not a rumor, it's a myth. When some people are talking about that God created man first and this and that, this was from the Bible. And in Genesis 1:27, it said he created them male and female. It didn't say he created male and then he turned around and he created them at the same time. There's no advantage for one that the other one don't have. God don't create disadvantages. He did what he did. And he did it right. He created them both at the same time. So neither one of them more superior, more godly, whatever you want to say, to elevate one status over the other. They're equals. And in all of that, I want to point out a couple of things that's relevant to today, right? It talked about going, the seeds from the plants of fruit. And today we go to the grocery store and we buy fruit that don't have no seeds in it, right? So, and I'm establishing something here for God, not for God, because God is established. I'm establishing something here for the sake of understanding. For those that don't understand or had never had this thing broke down to them, I'm establishing this. Okay, we go to the store these days and we buy fruit that don't have seed in it, right? Now, understand that he just said that the fruit had seed in it. The plants had seed. Those things are not of God. Those things are man-made. Okay, those are actually something to take you off the path. You're not even getting all the nutrients out of this stuff because the man has actually taken something away from what God has established for you to have. And man came along and he changed that. So he makes this byproduct of what God made, something like a facsimile of what God made. And you get shortchanged in that. It's not God's fault. But I want to relate this like this. Okay, let's take me. If I owned a car company, say I owned the only car company in the whole world, right? And now I'm gonna be God in this, right? Now I'm God that owns the only car company in the whole world. I come to every household and I give every household a Rolls Royce because that's all I make is Rolls Royces. Everything is a Rolls Royce. You're getting the top of the line. And I give every household $1 million. Okay, now, in the long term of you having the car and the $1 million, things begin to happen, right? The cars start to break down, right? Now, they don't break down just to break down. They breaking down because the maintenance not done. Then you have people that's out stealing the cars. You having accidents in the cars, and that kind of stuff, right? You got people that come and they rob you of your money. You got businessmen who cheat you out of your money and this and that, right? So now let's just say you had all of this. You had $1 million in a Rolls Royce, and now all of a sudden you got a car that don't run, and you've been robbed out of your $1 million. Now I'm asking you, now you broke. Me as the dealer and the guy that financed you with the $1 million, gave you the $1 million, is it my fault that happened? Is it my fault? Because I want to know if you feel that I should be accountable for the things that happened to you after I gave you what you needed for life, right? Because let's just establish that you needed a Rolls Royce and $1 million. Well, I gave it to you, and then some circumstances came along, and you were robbed, or whatever the circumstances are, you don't have it anymore, or things are not where they were. So now, am I responsible for what just happened, right? I don't think so. You can't bring it back to the dealer and say, hey, I didn't put oil in my car and the engine blew up, so I think you should fix it, right? If I fix it, I may fix it out of the kindness of my heart, but I'm not accountable or responsible for that, right? God established some things for us that were actually really beneficial to us, because if you actually read the book of Genesis from verse 1 to 27, you'll find this out. God was creating things, like most of you probably know, he created things by the day, right? After he created things, and at the end of the day, God said that at the end of each day, the first 5 days, at the end of each day, he said, and it was good. right? But when he created man and woman and finished the earth off, he didn't say it was good. He said it was very good, right? So he's saying that, hey, I'm giving you the best of the best, right? It's not just good, it's very good. If God says very good, then I think it's done went way up over anything that we could comprehend. But he put us in a perfect situation, and he can't be held responsible for what man did. He cannot be held responsible for what man did. And especially, we hold him accountable for all the things that we done, and we complain back to him, but then we factor out or we forget about the fact that, you know what he did as far as the Bible goes. He came back and he said, well, you know what, I created I did this creation, and I made them perfect, but somewhere along the line I gave them the gift of choice. And because they had the gift of choice, they began to make the wrong choices. So I'm coming back and I am going to fix the problem. Okay? So he got up on the cross. He fixed the problem by dying, right? He gave his life. But that don't absolve us from everything that we've done, right? Because some of what's happening right now is because we didn't go and vote. We didn't study hard enough. Men are just evil. We got some wicked people in this world. We got conniving people in this world. There's so many, and we don't have to go way up to find rotten people. Sometimes we can find them right in our family. We can find rotten people right in our family. Go to the family reunion and you'll hear all the talk around the family reunion. Yeah, that's what's his name? He used to break in people's houses or whatever. You know the case. He was a dope fiend or this or that. You can, and they, they'll bring the dirt out on you, right? And none of that's God's fault. None of that's God's fault, because he actually established you to be great. When he made you, he made you, and I gotta share this scripture from James 1:18. This is what God felt about each one of us when he made us. James 1:18. He said he chose to give us birth through the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruit of all he created. Now, when you hear the word first fruit, normally in the Bible, first fruit is related to a tithe. Okay, and a tithe is 1/10 of your whatever you have. Okay, but that 1/10 is supposed to be the best of the best. What James just said is that God made us the best of the best that he had made. And somewhere along the line, we deviated from it because we started to believe that we was less than the best. Each one of us was built with this mechanism and given a set of rules, right? God gave us a simple set of rules. I won't say it's simple because no man can follow the 10 Commandments, okay? You're going to break them. He gave us a set of rules, and some of them can be simple. Some of them are very tough, stringent, but he gave us a simple set of rules called the 10 Commandments. Don't have no other gods before me. Don't have any idols, and this and that. But and I won't run through all of them. But I do want to say this, and people get this taken out of context sometimes. But God Himself came to the earth, right? He gave us these 10 commandments, right? And this next commandment, because people only think there were 10 commandments, there were 600 and some odd commandments. But Jesus was being quizzed by a law man. And he was asked, what is the greatest commandment? And this commandment that he gives, these two commandments that he gives, only one of them are in the 10. It says, one of the teachers of the law came and heard them debating. Noticing that Jesus had given them a good answer, he asked, of all the commandments, which is the most important? The most important one, answered Jesus, is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There's no commandment greater than these. And I say that to say this. In the midst of all this, right, even some of the most subtle people, you can see the lack of concern, the wickedness come out of them. Because right now, I went to the grocery store today, not to load up like these people that's in this panic state, but to grab some things. And some of the shelves are bare, right? Now, I like to know why these people are running in the stores. Have you checked on your neighbor? Have you checked on your neighbor? Do you know anybody that's a senior that has a hard time getting around? Because I saw a lady in the store on one of those electric carts, right? Trying to gather stuff, right? And then going to shelves that's empty, right? Everybody's taking care of their own need and said to hell with everybody else. It's every man for himself. That's not how God set this thing up. Right? But we want to blame him as if it's his fault that things are like they are. No, this is a man creation. This is a man creation. What we should be doing right now in this pandemic, as they call it, is trying to come together and figure out how we can get back to where we're supposed to be. There's nothing greater than when you love your neighbor. There's nothing greater. I deal with a lot of seniors, and when you do something for them, they are so appreciative. And it's not just the seniors. When you help somebody, period, they're so appreciative. We've gotten away from a lot of the standards and the foundations that were laid out for us. And then we wonder why we so lost. But then we have to blame somebody. We don't look in the mirror. We generally pick out a person on the earth. And we then when that don't work, then we look up. We say, well, you know what you doing about this? He doing what he's supposed to do. Isn't the earth still suspended on its axis? Isn't it still turning? Isn't the ground still producing food? He's doing what he's supposed to do. If he sticks his hand in, guess what God's next move is destroy the earth. Is that what you want? Are you ready? Are you really ready? That's his next move. Because if God gets involved, ask Sodom and Gomorrah. Ask the people that were drowning in the times of Noah. When God puts his hand in, it's the end for everybody. Are you ready? Because if you ain't ready to go see him, then you should be doing something that we can get back to where we're supposed to be. Those are just some words I wanted to share with you today. Think about it. You can hit me on Facebook and tell me how wrong I am or whatever the case. I love to talk. Hit me up.